Welcome to Gracefully Greying. I'm your host, attorney Henry Gornbein. Every week on Gracefully Greying, we explore issues that those of us who are 50 and over or have aging parents are facing. Today on Gracefully Greying, I'm pleased to welcome as my guest Laurie Blume of Blume Design, who also happens to be one of my team as we are building the Gracefully Greying community. Laurie, welcome to Gracefully Greying.
Thank you, Henry. Nice to be here.
First of all, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your background and who you are?
Okay. I am Laurie Blume, Blume Design. I have been Blume Design for over 25 years, a long time. I kind of got my start, went to the University of Michigan Art School and was graphic design, industrial design, product design. I've always been very artsy, creative. My first job out of college was working for an exhibit company that did a lot of automotive exhibits, and then I did a lot of switched companies and worked for a company that did retail graphics and supermarkets, drugstores, a lot of that. And then I went off on my own.
What made you decide to go off on your own, Laurie?
Well, I was working for people that it was just time to go off on my own.
Sure.
It was just, I just figured that I could make some connections and, develop my skills and working with software and keep learning, keep expanding my skills. At that time, the Adobe software was just coming into play, and again, I've always been artistic and creative, but with what I do, you need the computer skills and be able to manipulate the software as a tool. So I've been off on my own for a long time, and I've built my clientele working with all kinds of people,
Tell us about your typical clientele, because I know it runs the gamut, but give us some examples, Laurie.
So I work with professionals, whether it's dentists, attorneys, I work with nonprofits, I work with organizations, for example, the Holocaust Museum is a client. I work with software companies, people that are entrepreneurs who are starting a company, or people that need help remessaging or rebranding or adding to their marketing assets, because that's what I do, is I develop creative marketing assets, help people with their messaging, their complete package, their campaigns, whether it's, again, starting from a new brand to logo, informational sheets, websites, displays, book design, advertisements, digital graphics, whatever anybody needs. So that's
Tell us
what I
about
do.
branding. How does that work?
So if somebody's starting with a new brand, they perhaps need a new name. Maybe they already have a name, but they need a new look. So I go through a process with them, and if they need a new name, come up with a lot of different alternatives. And my process is always kind of honing in ideas. I present my clients with what I think are the best ideas that I've developed, and then we kind of work as a team and hone in on that and figure out what the best solution is and get into the nitty-gritty as far as colors and messaging and taglines, and that's the process for branding.
We met. How did we meet? Let's start there.
Okay, so we met through Sabrina Cronin, a longtime attorney, and I met you at a function that she had, and you were telling me about what you do, your video podcasts and your long list of interviews and history of interviewing people, and you were telling me about your idea for Gracefully Greying.
Right.
So that was very interesting to me.
It's become my passion. I mean, literally,
it's your passion.
I'm an attorney. I've recently joined the Sabrina Cronin and her law firm, and I still practice law. I'm doing a lot to network because I've met people for many, many years through not only Gracefully Greying, but also Practical Law, where I've shot almost 900 shows to date. But Gracefully Greying, what I've learned is it's the largest demographics in the country, literally, 50 and over or with aging parents, with the most wealth and with tremendous needs. So let's start there and you carry on.
So obviously, that interests many people. I mean, everybody's affected by that. So when we met and you were telling me...
we can't stop the clock?
No, we can't stop the clock, unfortunately. But so, I mean, everybody knows it affects everybody no matter what age group you're in, whether you are, young, you have grandparents, whether you're a millennial, whether you are my age, having, living parents, maybe a parent is deceased. I mean, everybody's going through this, and things change constantly. So when I met you and your passion of telling me about Gracefully Greying and the potential of building this, you needed, so starting out, you needed branding, you really wanted, your vision was to build Gracefully Greying and have it be a kind of a marketplace, a resource pool, so to speak, for the general public and for people on the other side helping through their businesses, whatever it might be, seniors or millennials helping their parents, kind of as a whole guide and a resource guide and landing place for people to get information. So.
And also interact. So the whole idea is
in a community.
You're not only passively getting information and learning, but you're also able to communicate with others. So there's this huge plethora of people who are delivering goods and services for those who are gracefully graying, but it's a way for those who are both the people selling or giving services to interact with those who are needing the various services and ideas.
Right. So, how do we build that?
Yes.
And so...
And we're still doing it.
We're in the process of building it. And between you and I and some other people, we know a lot of people. I mean, obviously you're very well connected, and through my years I am too. But, here's what we're hoping to create is a platform for the community. And when we say community, we say, right now Metro Detroit, could be the state of Michigan, it could even be nationwide. I mean, we could take this concept
ultimately that's the goal, to make it
community,
accessible for anyone, anywhere, because through the internet, the world's become a small place.
Right. So locally speaking, our goal is to reach out to the businesses that service and cater to maybe the 50-plus population, providing information that people don't know, providing tips, providing feature news stories, providing information for people as a resource place for people to go to, and realizing that yes, millennials and people in their 50s and 60s, I'm making a generalization here, but, millennials, very tech savvy. What we're doing has to be accessible to everybody. And knowing that the maybe senior crowd, people need help, and they need help technically. They need to be able to access this information. They need to be able to know where to go to get information, or maybe you have a senior parent that needs to go somewhere and look something up. How do I find a senior living facility? How do I find equipment for my parents? So the whole point of building Gracefully Greying is to put together this whole community and marketing it, which is where I come in.
I'm going to add one thing, and that is, we talk about 50s and 60s, but what's interesting, a lot of people don't give credit to the fact that people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s are on the internet are becoming more and more tech savvy. I mean, I use an example. My second guest was my stepmother, Reva Gornbein. She's on Facebook. She's on the internet. She and I communicate by email and text.
So she's kind of an anomaly, though.
She's out there.
There are not many 90-year-olds that can do that, though.
Right.
You know, she's good for her.
Yes.
That she can. But let's face it, a lot of them cannot.
The 70s and 80s, clearly they're doing
sometimes not. But, you know, I mean, that's the way it is. And not even access on the computer screen, but on mobile devices. You know, and people need to be able to see that. And again, have access to all the information. So what we're creating is starting out with a comprehensive website, which delves into...
Tell us a little bit about that.
So as you know, that delves into all aspects of Gracefully Greying, from psychological issues to medical issues, legal, financial, religious, leisure and travel, covering pretty much every aspect of life.
Dating, social issues.
Everything. And the sky's the limit. And through your history of interviews that you already have done, and I know you have many more lined up, the goal is to kind of encapsulate all of them and have that be a great resource for people to listen to professionals, listen to people that are you know, knowledgeable in their area, providing information, tips, and also conversely directing business to them, because it's a great avenue for professionals and businesses and organizations to get better exposure, hopefully through Gracefully Greying, and have people recognize them or learn about them. Maybe they didn't know about them before. So the website is going to cover all of those areas.
And you're actively involved in that, so tell us a little bit about some of the features that you're working on with our web designer.
So providing you know, quick synopsis of different kinds of feature stories and interviews, so that the user can look on the website and, you know, say they'd like to look up financial information. When I say information, I mean tips or advice or somebody to go to, you know, to speak about their financial situation. So it would be directing them to different parts of the site. The site would be very organized, easy to use. It would include a blog forum also for the community to get involved, to have current speaking events posted throughout the community, which is another venue for organizations and companies to kind of get the word out. You know, if they have an event coming up and they want exposure. And the user would also use the site for, you know, hopefully very interactive, for people to be able to reach out to other people, to get information, to be able to access the YouTube videos and interviews. You know, it could be anything from recipes to, you know, how do I find a doctor who specializes in such and such. So basically just a very large resource, interactive place to go for information.
You watch television, and like the TV news, everything's done in a maximum of 30 seconds, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. My wife calls the national news the Daily Horror Show, because it's really, everything's bad. What's the latest on this political crisis? What tragedy is there? Who's dying? What natural disaster is this? We're here, we're focusing on the individual, like you're the focus, Laurie, but we're also talking about what you and I are working on together.
Right.
And with many of the professionals, such as doctors, the goal of Gracefully Greying is to talk about, there are a lot of doctors who do things very, very well. But I want to take people behind the scenes, and some of the questions are like, just, I asked you, why did you decide to go into design? And why does someone want to be a doctor? Why does someone want to be a lawyer? And what is your passion? Why did you focus on this area of medicine, law, or finance?
Right. So it serves as a platform for people to learn about professionals, say, where maybe they wouldn't have had that chance otherwise. So that's a great point. That's a great inroad and platform for people to get to know these people when, if they're going in for a doctor's office visit, they're not going to know about the doctor's background or the insight or the overlapping of interests, like a cardiologist talking about not only, the heart, but nutrition and exercise and lifestyle and happiness. And so that's through your interviews, that's what you're picking up on. You're digging a little bit deeper.
Plus, think of the fact, when you're going in for surgery, you meet a surgeon, sometimes in the office beforehand, sometimes you're on your back looking up as you're about to be put under, and that's your experience with the surgeon. Well, with these interviews, not only are you getting to know someone and his or her passion and background, but these videos can also be played in a waiting room, in an office.
Right.
They can be used for staff. They can be used in hospitals.
Right.
They can be used in nursing homes. And part of the goal is not only do we want to interview professionals, but we want to interview people and talk about life stories. Why did someone decide to become this type of professional? Why did someone retire? What is someone doing as they enter the next chapter of life, whether it's slowing down, whether it's changing a career, whether it's fully retiring. So these are the goals that I'm working on and that you're helping share by building the brand, by your artistic talents.
And they're human interest stories.
Sure.
And, by getting involved in the Gracefully Greying community, people can get newsletters that we send out, again, speaking engagement events, community events. It's a way for people to get involved, stay involved, learn about the resources of the community that maybe they don't know. Again, we sending weekly emails, monthly articles, that people can have access to that maybe, sure, you could Google anything and, but this is more speaking locally, local-centric, and again, this could, happen anywhere in the country, but right now we're starting locally, and it's a way for people to really kind of learn more about their community and become engaged.
It's also the goal is we're creating a one-stop mall. We're creating a digital mall where whatever someone's interests or needs are, our goal is to provide answers, ideas, and places for people to find help, answers, and professionals.
Right, correct. In a community forum. I mean, if somebody's looking for a particular product or wants to learn about new products for their parents or, and any kind of information, this is what we're gathering. And
your skill is design, colors. I mean, this logo you designed.
Correct.
You're working on the website to get a certain touch and feel and design, and tell us more about what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, people have to identify with Gracefully Greying, and our goal is for them to look at that and say, oh yeah, Gracefully Greying, now I'm seeing that all over the place, whether it's on the YouTube, whether it's on, again, brochures, advertisements, again, speaking engagements, but people need to identify with the brand. They need to, on social media, it becomes a recognizable brand as a resource for people to go to. That's my goal, is to create all of these marketing assets on a continuous basis so that it's, people recognize it, like you would recognize any major brand, and the name and the content behind it.
Now, we've got well over 100 videos to date, but we're really still taking baby steps. So what response are you getting? Because you're working with me closely. You've helped find people who are guests on the show. What is the feedback you're getting today?
I mean, there's nobody that says, oh, I'm not interested. I mean, everybody is interested in this because everybody's affected by it. And it's almost like playing operator. I mean, you know somebody who is a speaker on your show, and then they know 5 other people who would be really great interviewees. So it's kind of a network. It's definitely a community network where it's a snowball effect, and people introduce, oh yes, I know the perfect person, Henry, for you to interview on such and such, and so that's what we're building here.
The other thing, we're also creating a place, as we're calling it, a community. And different communities have senior resource centers. I mean, Bloomfield Township, where we're sitting now, just a few hundred yards away is a senior resource center. West Bloomfield is building something like this. Just about every community in this area has something. And we want this as a common area where all of these senior resource centers can interact and can also have feedback and be tied in with Gracefully Greying.
Right. Correct, right, and that's kind of the purpose of this, or maybe you're new to the area, or maybe your aging parent is in a different situation and they need more help with something. But again, this is definitely, a gathering of information and continuous events and news and features. Because there's really nothing like that locally, and it's not, so it's.
And what look and feel are you trying to capture, both through the graphics, through your design, through, we're working now on the website, we're working on phrases.
Right, well, it's got to be dynamic, it's got to be easy to read, I am one for very clean design. I don't like, it's got to be organized correctly. There's always a hierarchy of information. It's got to look good. It's got to feel good. It's got to be current. It's got to go with the times as far as what people are looking at it, through their mobile devices. It's got to kind of cover all those areas, whether it's on social media, whether it's on a display at a trade show, whether it's, on a TV screen. All the information has to be done professionally, and it has to look clean and crisp but fun. You want people to enjoy this, and it's got to convey that.
So what are some of your other thoughts going forward?
Well, we could definitely, as you said, like get the community involved, like have it be, interview individuals and their life stories, or whatever. You just never know where this could lead to. And at the end of the day, Gracefully Greying is helping people. People get into these dire situations where they just don't know where to turn. They don't know maybe who to go to find information. And by just expanding on this and connecting people with each other and information, everybody can win.
And you raise an interesting point, because I've done a couple of shows with regard to doctors, with regard to people who help connect people to, whether it's nursing home, hospitals, and things like that. And there's a disconnect in a lot of the medical community, especially with regard to service for seniors. So if we can help bridge these gaps, that in and of itself is a service.
Right.
And there's so many needs, there's so many services, and there's so many people who really don't know where to go.
Right, exactly. So, if you're living your life fully, as the tagline for Gracefully Greying, you want all the information that you can get. So, we hope to get out that information and the connections in the community. So
And Laura, we want ideas. We want input from people who are watching the show. We want input from people once our website is launched, which I hope will be sometime in the next 30 to 60 days.
Right.
And
right.
the whole
So we want
idea is
input from the community.
we want support. We want input. We want this to be interactive. The whole idea is every day, hundreds, thousands, nationwide. Millions of people are entering the demographics of Gracefully Greying.
Right.
So
right. You know, I mean, just, you know, on a smaller level, you know, if a family needs, for example, say, this is just an example, you know, a checklist for moving, or you know, a list for whatever it is, or, you know, maybe the process of how to, you know, set up. Whatever the case may be, I mean, again, we could be the resource for providing these.
We want to be the resource for everything. And Laurie Blume, we're out of time. I want to thank you so much,
Henry,
for being my guest on Gracefully Greying as we talk about not only your career and your brilliance in design, but also how you and I are working together as a team for Gracefully Greying. And I want to thank our viewers for watching Gracefully Greying, and also remind you that Gracefully Greying will be available as a website. It's available here at Bloomfield Cable, and will also be it is also available on the Henry Gornbein YouTube channel. Thank you again for watching.